Hi everyone, this is Anna and welcome back to Anna's Take with a Twist. Today we're talking about 5 things regarding doppelgangers because they are literally everywhere. The first is going to be a little bit of information about what a doppelganger is. Next, that will be followed by this fantastic book by Naomi Klein titled Doppelganger with the subtitle of A Trip into the Mirror World. That will be followed by some movie stars, famous people who are mistaken for each other. And then fourth is going to be this incredible story by the always incredible Colin Farrell. And then lastly, my experiences with doppelgangers. I know, a lot of information. Let's get into today's video. So for anyone who doesn't already know, a doppelganger is someone who looks like you but is not you. They're not related to you. Doppelganger, actually, the term came about in 1796 when German writers sat down and they created the word doppelganger from doppelganger. So doppel meaning double and ganger meaning goer or walker. So a doppelganger is, like I said, someone who looks like you but is not related to you. So we'll start with the face. They have the same color eyes, the same shape of eyes. Your nose will be the same shape, same with your lips and your mouth. Your hair will be the same hair color at birth, because people always change their hair color. You will be the same height and the same weight, approximately, for the weight, because people change their weight all the time. You will have the same level of education. If you smoke, one of you smokes, the other one probably is going to smoke too. You will have the same mannerisms. You will have the same lifestyle. You will probably have the same career. At the same time, you will also have your voice. Your voice will be the same. So if one of you has a squeaky voice, the other one is going to have a squeaky voice. If one of you sounds gruff, the other one sounds gruff. And if you have an accent, the other one's going to have an accent too. The similarities kind of end with your feet though, because your feet will not be the same size. And you may not be right-handed. If your doppelganger is right-handed, the other one might be left-handed. So doppelgangers, there is a chance in 1 in 135 that you will see a doppelganger, and there is 1 in 135 chance that you will have a doppelganger. So, interestingly enough, even though there's 135 chance of you having one, if you do have one, you will have the same DNA. I'm not making this up. They've actually done studies on this. It's true. At the same time, if you have a doppelganger, you can actually have up to 7 doppelgangers. So 1 for every day of the week, I guess. I don't know. At the same time, there are some people, and I call them unicorns, where they will look exactly like somebody else. And there is a 1 in 1 trillion chance, or about a 1 in 1 trillion with the T chance, of someone looking exactly like you. That means that they will have the exact measurements of your face. So your face will have, your eyes will be the exact same size, they'll be the exact same width, like apart from your nose. Your lips will be the exact same size. Everything will be the exact same on your face and the other characteristics. Like I said, so your height and your weight, except the size of your feet. So I find that kind of interesting, and that brings me to the book Doppelganger, like I said, titled Doppelganger by Naomi Klein, and the subtitle is A Trip into the Mirror World. Now, this book is 348 pages. I know, it looks like it's really, really thick. It has a lot of notes, a lot of appendixes. It's a fantastic book. It is 348 pages, and it was published on September 12th of 2023. Now, in 2024, it won the Women's Prize for Nonfiction, and it is actually printed and published by Vintage Canada. So yes, it is a Canadian book, and Naomi Klein is Canadian also. So you know, I'm like a lot of other people. If it's not on my radar, it's not on my radar. Since I haven't thought about Naomi Klein or Naomi Wolf for literally years, I had no idea that Naomi Klein was being confused for Naomi Wolf to the extent that she was. And you know, over the years, I've confused the two. I mean, like, how could I not? They are both women. They both write nonfiction. They write nonfiction books, and they write nonfiction articles. They are both speakers. They're both well educated. They both have brown hair. And when they're seated, they look like they're the same height. So yes, over the years, I have confused the two. And apparently a lot of other people have too, which is what prompted Naomi Klein to write her fantastic book titled Doppelganger, with the subtitle of A Trip into the Mirror World. Here is something from the back cover of that book. So a review by Molly Crabapple says, a dazzling, hallucinatory tour de force that takes the reader through shadow selves and global fascism, leaving them grasping at the end. Yes, I agree. Now, here is something from Vulture. And Vulture said this about Doppelganger. No recent book had better captured the absurdities and perils of the current moment in politics and culture and digital life than Doppelganger. That review can be found on the inside of the trade paperback. So I'm just going to say that, you know what, I love this book because it is part memoir. It has a lot of history in there. It actually has conspiracy theories from COVID-19 that I had no idea about, which were not on my radar and I found very, very interesting. So I am going to say that I did find it very alarming that people would tweet nasty things to Naomi Klein when they were talking about Naomi Wolf. I found it also very alarming that people would say nasty things about Naomi Klein when they were really referring to Naomi Wolf. So, you know what? Honestly, if you're going to confuse someone like that, you better do a little bit of fact checking to make sure that what you're saying, especially if you're going to put it in writing, is actually true. And if you're going to say something, that's true. So don't confuse people if you don't know exactly what's really happening, is what I'm trying to say. So I am also going to say that it's no mystery to me why Naomi Klein decided to write this book, because it's probably just easier way of clearing her name as opposed to charging someone with libel. Or I would just go full on defamation, because libel is letters and slander is a spoken word. So I would like to actually just go and read a couple of things from the book itself. Here's something from page 45. It's a bit long, just bear with me. Except, as this period of double vision continued, mirroring the intellectual and ideological mayhem of the COVID era, I found that my bitterness was steadily fading, giving way to more complex and unexpected emotions. Being chronically confused with another person may be humiliating, but that's not all it is. It is also an oddly intimate experience. The boundaries between you and alter you begin to wear down, becoming thin, even diaphanous. Their problems are your problems, their shame your shame. The doppelganger is your trail, your shadow, a bit like a biblical story from which we derive our name, in which Ruth proclaims to Naomi, "Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay." Perhaps this is why I became increasingly not bitter or angry about the confusion, but intensely interested. And here is something from page 325. Not quite as long. This is something else we might choose to learn from our double walkers. The idea that each one of us has a lookalike walking around somewhere means that no one is quite as special or unique as we might have imagined ourselves to be. There are a lot of people who look like other people, which brings me to my next point, which is, because there are people who look like other people, there are actually a list of famous people who look very similar to each other. For example, Bella Hadid and Jennifer Lawrence get mistaken for each other a lot. I can kind of see that. I mean, their faces look the same. Zach Braff and Dax Shepard get mistaken for each other quite a lot. At the same time, Evan Rachel Wood and Rachel Brosnahan, which Rachel, that kind of, makes sense. The list is very, very long. But my all-time favorite is Rob Lowe being mistaken for John Stamos. I don't really understand it, probably because I grew up on Rob Lowe and John Stamos. However, it happened so often that Rob Lowe's son, interestingly named John Owen, Rob Lowe's son, John Owen, has stopped by John Stamos' house as a prank to wish him Happy Father's Day, because Rob Lowe gets mistaken for John Stamos so often. I know. So there is actually a little YouTube video about that, actually several YouTube videos about that. It's kind of interesting. John Owen stops by with helium balloons, and they sit down and have a little chat. But now we have the incredible story from the always incredible Colin Farrell, and this story actually has a couple different articles that I found online. So the first article that I found online, the title for the headline is so long I couldn't memorize it. The headline is, "It was terrifying. Colin Farrell was arrested for the murder his doppelganger committed until his friend came to rescue him with the crucial evidence." So just the term "with the crucial evidence" leads me to believe that it was actually translated into English. In 2015, while Colin Farrell was on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon promoting his new TV show, True Detective, with Vince Vaughn, Colin Farrell, and Jimmy Fallon played this game called True Confessions, where you just pick an envelope. So the envelope that Colin Farrell chose had true confession. So in that episode, Colin Farrell had said that while he was in his late teens, he was visiting Sydney, Australia with his mother. And while he was in Sydney, Australia, he was actually taken in by the police to be questioned for attempted murder. This is what he had to say. "It was a long time ago and I was drunk. They had a photo fit of a guy that actually did the crime and it looked remarkably like me. And for a second, I wondered, because I had had a blackout that night, I wondered, could I have done such a thing?" Later on in the article, it says, "It was terrifying. I was there for about 6 hours, and then thankfully a friend of mine had kept a journal of that particular night, and that particular time we went to a party on the other side of town doing ecstasy." Like I said, there's a YouTube video about that, and I will leave the link for the article below. Another article with the headline of "Colin Farrell was arrested for attempted murder as a teenager." Colin Farrell says they had bushy eyebrows, a mole on his face, and even spoke in 2D with an Irish accent. So like I said before, you can even have an accent, which is the same. So luckily, Colin Farrell's friend had taken those notes, wrote them in his journal, and that's what happened to get Colin Farrell off the hook for attempted murder, because it sounds like he was pretty much going to be convicted of that crime. So here's an interesting fact. I was chosen to be in the movie Total Recall, and I'm actually in the bar scene standing beside Colin Farrell. So I don't know who actually chose me to be in that part, if it was the background casting person, Naomi Klein, who chose me to be in that scene, or if it was the director of the time for that movie was Len Wiseman. However, I'm very, very grateful, so thank you ever so much, whoever it was. And here's a quick clip from me standing beside Colin Farrell in Total Recall.
"Come on, Harry. We commute halfway around the world for shit jobs. Shit pay. Come to this shit bar and get drunk on too much shit beer."
So if you're wondering why I'm wearing this bright red lipstick, it is because I'm wearing this t-shirt that says "Be Stupid for Successful Living." And this is the exact same t-shirt that I wore for the go-see in 2011 for the movie Total Recall. Now, if you do watch that movie, which I highly recommend because it's a fantastic movie, the scene that I just showed you a clip of is about 16 minutes into the movie. And that brings me to my next point, which is I have something in common with Colin Farrell, and that is that I too have a doppelganger. I've known about her for over 30 years, and life is stranger than fiction in so many ways. So on Wednesday, April 23rd of this year, 2025, I was walking down the street and I thought I'll just go to the beach. So I was walking down Parliament. I look over to my left and there are pylons on King Street for this production. Curious as to what they were filming, I walk over. So I walk over there, I see two guys, and then as I'm walking up, one man turns to me and I said to him, "Derek?" This man looked just like this guy that I know, Derek, and Derek actually also works in film. So I just want to say that this person looks so much like Derek, and I've known Derek for a lot of years. Derek and I actually worked in two separate industries. I worked with Derek's mother. Derek actually worked with me and my daughter. So I know exactly what Derek looks like. So there's no confusing that at all. And the person who was standing in front of me on Wednesday, April 23rd, looked just like Derek. When I said, "Derek?" this person's face went ashen because he has a doppelganger who is not Derek, because I know Derek, and the person that this person knows has a very, very different lifestyle. Let's just put it that way. I told him about my doppelganger. And so I know my doppelganger because over 30 years ago, my then boyfriend, we both lived in Whitby, Ontario, separate residences. He dropped me off at night school, which was in Oshawa, Ontario, and I was taking a course for H&R Block. I've taken lots of courses from H&R Block. It's probably one of the last courses I could probably ever take. And so on his way home, he stopped over at Walmart, which was then located on the corner of Dixon and Highway 2. So he stops over at the Walmart, and then he says to me, Anna, oh my God, I believe I saw this girl. She looks just like you. I had to get 3 feet away from her to realize it wasn't you. Of course, he's a little bit, confused as to like how I got from Oshawa, Ontario, night school, to Whitby, Ontario, without having a car. Transit wasn't what it used to be. Like what isn't what it is now. Sorry. At the same time, I'm wearing different clothes. So 3 feet, I was a little bit insulted by that because I'm thinking 3 feet, really? We've dated for quite some time. And we were intimate, so you would think that you knew what I looked like, but apparently not. Shortly after that, one of my neighbors was a DJ, and he came running up to me. He's like, Anna, oh my God, there's this girl, she looks just like you. I saw her while I was at work. So I know exactly what profession my doppelganger had over 30 years ago. That part is clear. So I'm not really thinking about anything about any one of these comments. I'm thinking, when my boyfriend told me that at the time, I'm like, okay, well, I'm still a single mother. I have a lot of work to do. I have a daughter. I have class. I have laundry. I have clothes. I have groceries. I have apartment. I have to do all these things for. When my neighbor told me, I was kind of like, oh, great. So thank you for sharing. She has an interesting history. I do know that for sure. I've had a lot of experiences. Anyway, one experience I will tell you about was I was at work, and this woman who is not happy is very angry, and she's looking at me like she's staring me down. And so I kind of asked her, I'm like, is everything okay? Like, what's going on? She goes, what's your name? So I told her, and she's like, someone looks just like you. I go, yeah, I know, I've heard it. She's like, no, someone looks just like you. Once again, she's not a happy person. I have actually met different doppelgangers, which I know sounds weird, but it's true. Let's speed up to 2015. I meet somebody. I actually see their doppelganger in 2016. This person looks just like that person. They have the same color hair, the same height, same facial features, about the same weight, but I knew they were different because when I looked at this person, they weren't really happy. They were kind of confused. So I'm like, oh, this person doesn't know me. Okay, so do they know my doppelganger? Never really occurred to me at the time, but it does occur to me now because I've been having these really interesting experiences. So if you see someone that looks like me, keep in mind that I have 2 scars right here I've had since I was 7 or 8 years old. I have a scar right here from 2020. I have like this spider web scar right here from 2024. I can tell you the exact date for that one. I have a scar right here. I have a number of scars on the left-hand side of my body, on my left leg. I have a lot of scars. I have one actually really significant scar on the right side of my body, which is very significant. And I have a lot of other factors. So I have just normal, one piercing per ear. I do not have a criminal record. I do not do drugs. Take a hair sample if you want. There are 2 more doppelgangers I want to mention. So there's one person who I met in 2016. That person actually advocated for me, and I saw someone who looked just like them in Yonge and Dundas Square. So someone who lives in my neighborhood, I saw someone who looks just like them in Yonge and Dundas Square. At the same time, I told that person, he's like, yes, I know, I've heard of that person. Then, actually, one of my subscribers actually has a doppelganger also. He has 2 doppelgangers because I was telling him about the new video that I was doing, and he's like, oh yeah, he goes, I have one. Wow. And he told me where his doppelganger met up with him, and I was just like, okay. And then another one in Montreal. So it seems like Toronto has a lot of different doppelgangers. There's me, there's the person I met on April 23rd, 2025, person I met in 2015 that has a doppelganger who I saw in 2016. Then there is the one I'm going to call W squared. I can't say his name, but he has a doppelganger, the one I saw in Yonge and Dundas Square. And then, of course, the person who subscribes to my channel. So thank you very much. That person has 2 doppelgangers. So we are out there. Be mindful. Do not accuse one. Do not accuse me of being somebody else. I mean it. If you want to purchase the book Doppelganger, by Naomi Klein. I'm going to leave a link for that in the description below. If you do purchase, yes, I will receive a little bit of money from that. At the same time, I will also leave the link for the 2 articles that I mentioned about the doppelgangers. There's also a really, really good article by Naomi Klein that I will leave the link for that in the description below also. And if you want to see the movie Total Recall, please watch the movie Total Recall. It's a fantastic remake. It was filmed here in Toronto, so in Hollywood North. I highly recommend it, not just because I'm in it, because like I said, Colin Farrell's in there, Kate Beckinsale's in there, and Jessica Biel. Naomi Klein also has a really great article in New York Times. I will include the link for that. It's also about doppelgangers. Crazy, crazy stories, which I did not include. I want you to really read the article by Naomi Klein in New York Times about that. If you like today's video, hit the like button, like the video. And of course, if you have a doppelganger, leave a comment. If you have any kind of comment, leave a comment. And of course, you can always subscribe. Thanks again for watching Anna's Take with the Twist, and that's a wrap.